everybody. Happy Wednesday here at Dog is Good. I am Gila Kurtz, one of the founders and co-owners of Dog is Good, which, if you are not familiar with the brand, it is a lifestyle brand for dog lovers. And I am really excited about our guests today because they are the epitome of living the absolute fun dog lifestyle life. And so I wanted to share them with everybody out there. As you guys pop in, I want to tell you a couple of things. First, we always do a giveaway. So I want to make sure that you guys enter to win what will be very appropriate, the Never RV Alone. And if you're looking behind Jenny and Brian thinking, God, they have a really nice house. Their digs are awesome. It's because they are in a phenomenal RV. I would love, like, if we could have the a camera or something. I do the whole shot. I recently did an RV show where I was at, and I mean, those are better than houses, some of them, right?
It's a lot of fun. We definitely love traveling with a lot of space and a lot of room, and let the dogs run. With 5 dogs, you need some space.
Yes, you do. So very cool. Maybe we can get a panoramic view here before the end of the show. But anyway, people are popping in, so we'll give people a chance to join in and share, invite your friends for a little afternoon conversation about living life with dogs, and we'll get going here very soon. As you guys are popping in, I want to encourage you to enter to win the giveaway, which I just showed you, the Never RV Alone mug, and also join the lifestyle group. If you are not part of our private group, the Dog is Good lifestyle group, then you are missing out, and you're missing out big, because next week we have our annual holiday Facebook Live party, which is awesome. It's going to be so much fun. And the only place where you can participate in that is in the private lifestyle group. So go there, RSVP for the party. We're going to have an absolute blast, lots of games, lots of prizes, lots of great deals you will absolutely not be able to get anywhere else. So I want to make sure you do that. Miko is coming in this afternoon. I'm so glad you're on, Miko, because this couple does the dock diving just like you. So we have one of them, a gal that does judging for dock diving. So you guys talked about there. And welcome Jennifer and Sharon and Kalia up in Washington. So thank you guys for joining in. This will be fun because I know those of you who are on currently are also lead incredible lives, enjoying life with your dogs. And that's really what it's all about. Jennifer's asking, is that Cello?
This is Lemoncello, yes.
Yeah, okay. So this is friend of Jenny and Brian. Cello is in the house there. So I'm gonna introduce Jenny and Brian to you in just a second. I'm loving. I kind of want them to share their story with you more than me reading what they're up to, because it's very interesting, actually, very active lifestyle. So without further ado, we will jump right in and say hi to Jenny and Brian.
Hi.
Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your afternoon with your crew all around you to spend some time with us here at Dog is Good. I really appreciate that. And, you know, one of the reasons why I was excited to be able to talk with you is more and more the people that I meet are really embracing what it is to live their lives really with their dogs, and have their dogs having an experience that is very, very different from the family pet that we may have had growing up, right? You know, the dog definitely has gone from the backyard into the bedroom and now lounging on the luxury of an RV couch, right? Traveling the country. So very good. All right, so Jenny and Brian, why don't you introduce yourselves to our audience? Share with us a little bit about, who you are, what you do on a daily basis, like if you have, your day job gig, and really, I want to ask a very specific question about your dogs because they have very unique names, and I want you to share those with everybody. But let's start with you first.
Absolutely. My name is Brian Beadling. This is my wife, Jenny. We've been married for 10 years now, and we live in Medford Lakes, New Jersey, a small town in southern New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. During our day jobs, which is not the fun part of our lives, I am vice president of a mortgage company, and Jenny is a special ed teacher. But what we truly enjoy is getting on the RV on the weekend, spending time with our pups, traveling the country, and having a lot of fun. We live in an active lifestyle of hiking, camping, dock diving, and really all of it is based on the theory that you talked about, which is that we don't ever go without them.
I
Anywhere
love
we
that.
go, they are,
I
and
love that.
that's
I
that's
have to
really
get one.
our core
I'm
belief.
gonna have to get one because I feel the same. I feel very fortunate. I at least get to bring mine to work with me every day. But okay, so you guys are such a cute couple. I won't tell Jenny that you had to think for 1 second that you're 10 years now into your marriage, but no.
It took a second. I didn't get an elbow, so I must have gotten it right.
Yeah. Did you both have dogs before you guys met?
No, I had actually two miniature pinchers. Brian had a cat when we got together. And we moved into a home shortly after that. And the history behind the home is how we ended up with the rest of our crew, which are all pointers at this point.
Okay, so is there a reason why they're all pointers? Just your favorite?
Yeah, I can. Well, one, we fell in love with the breed. That's really why they're all pointers. But the long and short of the story of how we ended up with the first German short-haired pointer, which is Lemoncello here, is casually lazing next to me and not getting on camera, is that where I work, we also have a title company. So when we had bought our current home we live in a log cabin, and I researched the deed all the way back to the original owner in 1927. And in 1927, I found the name and I just put it into Google as anyone would do. And it came up that the person who originally bought this home was a doctor out of Philadelphia who used to train and compete with German short-haired pointers at the English Setter Club, which is in Medford, New Jersey, right by us. It's actually a very old club. Ty Cobb was a member there many years ago. And so, we started thinking if we were going to get another dog, we wanted to look at a German short-hair pointer. And then the opportunity to get Cello came up, and we got her, and we fell in love with the breed, their demeanor, and their love of life and sport and active lifestyle like us. And then we ended up with some English pointers as well. Rita actually came to us through the German Short-Hair Pointer Rescue, and Rita's here as well. But and then we started working with the German Short-Hair Pointer Rescue as well. But pointers in general, whether they be English pointers or German Shorthairs, have a great on and off switch. If you want to play, they want to play, and they're great and active and running. But they can also settle. Sometimes they won't, but most of the time, they have a great on and off switch, which works great with our lifestyle.
That's how we began camping as well. It's actually how we started camping as well, because we were looking for activities to keep Cello busy. And we started out tent camping so that we can go on some hikes. And we graduated into a travel trailer and then a fifth wheel, and now the RV that we have at this point.
That's so awesome. I love, Brian, the fact that you researched your home all the way back to the original owner. That's really cool. I mean, it's such a great history and a good story that you can share with everybody.
It was actually a fun experiment. Yeah.
It was a what?
It was a very fun experiment to look at the history of your home all the way through and who owned it. And, it's funny because if anybody does it, you can sometimes just through Google search find pictures online of your home, whether it be 100 years old or who owned it before. And it tells a little story of where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it's such great insight, too. And I love the fact that the way that you're describing the German Shorthairs, being able to turn it on, show up when they need to show up, and be all in, and yet at the same time, look, I can see behind you them just calmly chilling out, right? Yeah. So you guys have some very interesting names for your dogs. How did those come about?
You or me?
So when we got Cello, she had the typical yellow bird dog eyes. And at the time, we were also making homemade Lemoncello from a recipe of my grandfather's. And so we decided to name her Lemoncello as a tribute to my grandfather and his homemade Lemoncello.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I will admit, as much as I would love to drink more, I joke my New Year's resolution every year is drink more, watch more TV, and like all good Americans, I break my resolution very quickly. I don't even know what the limoncello is. How horrible is that? Tell me what's in that drink.
Lemoncello is it's, I believe, an Italian beverage. I don't want to misquote Tommy, who's Jen's grandfather, but it's an Italian after dinner drink, which consists, it's basically sugar, lemons, water. It's a very sweet after dinner sipping drink. And it's an Italian custom that they would have that at the end of a meal, and everybody would sip on it. And I guess what they call a digestive. So they would have that. And this was Tommy. I knew Tommy for a few years before he passed, and he prided himself on these recipes, and he was able to pass it on and teach a couple of us before he left us. And it was one of his favorite things to talk about was his limoncello. So when we had gotten the puppy with the yellow eyes, and a friend of ours who lived down the street suggested, why don't you call her Lemoncello, because it had become locally famous amongst our friends to try that beverage that we were now making. And then we kind of stuck with the theme of, okay, then we had gotten Hooch when he was a puppy. And we said, okay, we kind of had the alcohol themed name going at that point. That was really the evolution of the theme, was really not Lemoncello herself, but when we had gotten Hooch, and we kind of stuck with it from there. And as we then adopted our third, which is a great story within itself, would be Lager, who we had adopted from the State Department. He was a contracted working dog who spent 2 years in Iraq at the embassy sniffing out bombs. So we had adopted him from a contractor who worked at the State Department, and we had called him Lager. And then we had now 3 liver-colored German short-haired pointers.
Wow.
Who were all named after alcohol. So then the Liver Killers team name came up from there. So it was a play on everything. We couldn't have more play on words with this team than Lemoncello and Hooch and Lager and the Liver Killers. But the names kind of evolved from there, and then as our pack is continuously growing, because we're probably the worst foster parents in the world.
I think a lot of our audience can relate to you. No worries.
Yeah. Then as it continues to grow, I don't think anybody would ever accept the fact if we named any dog other than some kind of beverage.
That's awesome. So what do you call, what's the nickname for Senorita Margarita and Tennessee Whiskey?
We just use Rita for short.
Rita, and then what about the other one? Tennessee Whiskey?
Sorry. So it's Lemoncello, Hooch, Lager, Margarita, and Whiskey.
Whiskey. Oh, I'd like to be outdoors when you're calling one of them to you.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Okay, so you guys, you travel all over the U.S. in your RV?
Yes, we do.
Wow.
Yeah, mostly we've been up and down the East Coast. Far north is Maine, South Carolina, and as far west as Iowa and Tennessee.
Oh, man, that's impressive. And what inspired you guys to get involved in dock diving? I know a lot of our viewers, they participate in all these kind of fun sports. Like, how did you guys get into that?
Dock diving has been, it's really become a focus in our lives over the past couple of years. And one of the reasons why we travel so much, and it gives us a reason to go out and travel other than the love of spending time with our dogs. But how it all started was we had Lemoncello, and our house, we're lucky enough that our house is on a small lake. I lost you there for a second. Can you let me know if you're still there?
Yep.
Sheila, do we still have you?
Yeah, you do.
I'm not sure if we're live or not.
Can you hear me now? For those of you watching, can you guys hear me?
Our connection seems to be okay.
Okay. All right. Can you guys?
Yes.
Okay, good. I just refreshed. Thank you guys. Sorry, the viewers.
I did the same. I'm sorry.
No
You
worries.
lost me during the dock diving story. So
Before you go on, I just want to welcome some of the new guests here watching you guys. Welcome. I'm excited that you're here. And also a shout out to some of our regulars like Judy. I'm glad you're on board too today watching Brian and Jenny. So, okay, go ahead. So you're sharing about getting into the dock diving.
So we live on a small lake in southern New Jersey, and we have a dock. And just for fun, I had always thrown a tennis ball out, and Lemoncello would go and grab it. And she'd jump off the dock, and she'd swim out and grab it. It was exercise. It was fun with your dog, like any of us do. And I had seen dock diving on ESPN or on the Animal Planet before, and I noticed that she was jumping far. It seemed like, without measuring, it seemed like 18 feet, something like that. Seemed like a long way to me. And so what we did was there was a festival about an hour south of us. We already had a camper, and there was camping on site. So you just said it'll be a fun weekend. Let's go down. Let's try dock diving, and go to this festival and just camp for the weekend. So we did, and we went through the competition, and Lemoncello ended up coming in second.
No training or anything.
No, nothing. Just showed up with a toy and a leash. And so then we went to a second competition, which was much larger. And so this much larger competition we went to, which was right in Tuckerton, New Jersey, she ended up coming in second in that, jumping over 22 feet. And so we said,
and
wow.
Someone turned into a soccer dad.
Yeah. So then I started saying, wow, we could be really good at this. So then we went to a third competition, which was even larger. And in that competition, which was down in Elkton, Maryland, which is a great place, she ended up winning that competition. And that was pretty much the love of dock diving was on from there. I mean, it kind of grew organically. Now, I mean, some dogs we've had to train. Lemoncello was a natural, but like Hooch, Jen trained Hooch from the time he was a small puppy. It took a lot of time and a lot of patience, but Hooch is now, over the past couple of years, either been within the top 1 or the top 3 German short hair pointers in the world for 3 years in a row.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's been not only our recreational activity, but it's been a reason for us to bond with our dogs. It really gets us out, gets us all together, gets us outside. We're not sitting on the couch. We're not watching football. We're out playing with our dogs, competing, and having good interactions with not only that, and I hope some of them are watching because they're some of our best friends in the world, is that everyone else at Dock Dogs events is like-minded to us of, they just want to have a good time with their pups.
Yeah, absolutely. You bring up a really good point, Brian, in terms of how dogs enhance our lives, right? So I love that you just mentioned getting, as a family, you guys, 6 dogs, is that right?
5.
5, yeah.
So a family of
total
7.
in the pack, if you count Jenna.
Right, family of 7. It's good that you don't have to put them through college. But that, we have choices. We can be really busy on the weekends with our chores or our, must-dos, whatever we think we need to be doing. We can be distracted by technology, and yet you guys, really are embracing each moment. So what are the things that you're, as far as your dogs go, what would you say is the most positive impact that having these dogs have in your life? Like, what is the most prominent impact you feel they have on your life?
Go ahead.
I think, one, they got us out doing things that we wouldn't have done before, like camping and hiking and dock diving, which also then led to the even bigger picture of all of the really great people that we got to meet. And of course, the most amazing dogs that go with those people at the events. So I think the amount of people that we have met that are just absolutely amazing and have touched our lives is the biggest impact for me.
So to that, I want to share one thing. I feel very strongly about this, that in a day and age when technology is supposed to bridge the gap, right, to connect us so much more, I feel this is a time in our lives when we are probably the most disconnected. And yet the creatures that we share our homes with are the only souls that really we feel such a strong connectivity to, and through them, they become a conduit to real human connectivity again. So I feel like it goes full circle.
Yeah.
I think it works just as well within your house as, I don't mean within your house, within your family, as it does outside of it. When Jen and I are in the house, we love spending time with the pups, but it's easy to fall into your phone or the football game or do those things.
Yeah.
When we're at a dog diving event or when we're out camping, we're sitting by a campfire, or we're taking a walk, or we're doing those things. Not only are we connecting as a family with the dogs, we're connecting as a husband and a wife. And everything goes together with that. And I think it's really been a positive aspect for all parts of our lives.
That is awesome. You guys should do a couple show, like a dog life couple show. You're so cute. And you're absolutely right though. It's getting rid of those distractions and getting down to what's really important, the relationships that we have, and putting the energy into that. And to add to it, the fact that you're just out in nature and getting away from behind a computer, from behind a cell phone. And that's really awesome. So Judy was saying that you're so down to earth and not like dog show people. So I hope if you're a dog show person, we're saying that in jest.
We love the dog show people. We love anybody who takes care of a pup.
Yeah. So you guys had a really cool experience being on a Subaru commercial, right? Okay. How did that come about, and what was that experience like?
So my sister Dana works for Subaru, and they needed a dog to be a model for the new Forester backseat cover. And she had given us a call and said, you think one of your dogs can do this? And we decided to pick Hooch, and we went down. He had his first photo shoot. So he is currently on the Subaru website for a Forester backseat cover. He's now in the brochure at the dealership, and he's soon to be on their posters and window clings that are being delivered to the dealership within the next couple of weeks.
So cool. I love the Subaru brand because they are so dog friendly.
Yeah,
they are a great brand, and Dana's been with them for years. But Hooch we picked because he has the most expressive face of anybody who knows our pups, other than Whiskey, who could never sit through a photo shoot. But Hooch has the most expressive face of all of them.
So do you have these proud parent moments, like where you're watching the whole thing, the dog's getting prepped, you're helping, and you stand back and you're like, what's that like for you, watching that?
It's funny. Throughout the years, you have moments like, where they achieve something, because, one of our favorite things is teaching them. They achieve it on their own. We're just a coach. And, to watch Hooch, be part of that, or to watch, any of them achieve, within dock diving or any of the sports, like Jenny and Rita do agility, and they're about to start competing in that. But as we sit in that, like when you're in the heat of the moment, you're just you're excited. It's, like you've been in any sport in your lives. And then you get home and you're having dinner, or you're having a glass of wine at the end of the night, and you say to yourself, wow, that was cool. I taught, like, not only did I teach, but they trusted me enough to be able to do that. And I think that's the coolest part.
Oh my gosh, I love that you just said that they trusted you enough to teach them what they needed to do in order to experience what they were able to experience. And
I always say
isn't it all about a relationship built on trust and mutual respect?
I always say it's not easy to get a dog to run down a 40-foot runway and without even seeing it, jump 25 feet in the air or 25 feet long into a pool of water. That's not natural for them. So they have to trust that you're never going to put them in a position that they're ever going to be in harm. And once you develop that trust, then they'll perform. And I think that's where a lot of people, when they're looking at performing, not go wrong, but they don't develop the trust first. They worry about the performance first. That should always come second. The trust comes first.
So there's an interesting parallel because I know you guys don't know me so well, but I'm always looking for the lesson here, the anecdotal lessons that we learn from our dogs and how we can apply them to our own lives. That's, to me, that whole fur-covered wisdom piece. But you talk about trust and how the animal must have that, and that you have to show up in a way that exudes that level of confidence for your dog. But isn't that so true for us in all relationships? That before we can expect others to do things for us or be there for us, we have to create an environment by which we foster trust,
Mm-hmm.
respect. So it's interesting that you say that, because I definitely see the parallel. And speaking of parallels, like what would be the lessons of you two each have? What would be the biggest lesson that you feel you have gained from your dogs, or it could be all, it could be one in particular, and how you apply that to your life on a daily basis?
I would say that, the biggest lesson I've gained from the dogs is, I mean, like the unconditional love is really like, what I take the most from the relationship. But not only that, I try and look at things differently. When I think about how they go about their day, and we all have distractions and we have jobs, and sometimes they're easy and sometimes they're hard. But I try and approach it all from an easier mentality, in the same way they do. That as long as we do it together, we're going to be okay. And I think that's the biggest lesson I've taken from them is really the teamwork. Because until Ken and I were together, and then the dogs and I were together, it was an I mentality. And then as this has evolved, it's a we mentality. And I think that's taught me a lot about life and cooperation, and those are skills that help out in every aspect of what you do during the day.
And I think for me,
But I just have to speak to that. I love it. It's so true. I mean, going from an I mentality to team and collaboration and communication, really profound. Go ahead, Jenny.
I think for me, the biggest lesson is to, no matter what you're doing, is just to have fun. We always say that with dock diving or competition, we see people get frustrated, excuse me, and, when their dog doesn't do well. The dog doesn't know anything other than they're up there having a great time. So we try to do the same thing, keep that same mentality that, it's not about what you win or how far the dog goes. It's about having fun and learning together.
Oh, another great lesson too. And isn't that funny how people internalize that so much that it affects them in a way it's just not necessary. And it's not just dock diving, it's in a lot of things, right? It's in agility, it's in fly ball, it's in any of the activities that we do with our dogs. Or it's even very simply just in having the dogs in our homes. I see this all the time with clients that I work with, where just a frustration when they're out in public if their dog isn't perfect, right? And really taking that as though it's a reflection on them.
Yeah.
And it's not. But to have fun and just to remember that that's really what it's all about.
Absolutely.
So very cool. So I'm curious, how did you guys meet?
We met in a bar.
All right. Woo! I met in a bar too.
A couple.
You folks with all the dating apps, it might be something to be said for going back to traditional.
It was old fashioned. We both had shore houses down the shore in New Jersey, down in Avalon, and a friend of mine was dating a friend of Jennifer's who was in her shore house, and it was the old fashioned way. We all ended up meeting at a bar, and I asked her to dance. And I always say I'm very lucky. I must have been very funny that night. It carried over well.
Well, you guys are you are a perfect match. So we have some questions here, and I want to throw them out because somebody's asking. Okay, 5 dogs, RV. Where do they sleep? How do you manage all of them in there?
Well, first of all, when we do travel, we have Whiskey is in a crate, and the rest of the dogs are on the couch, and that's kind of the safest thing for everybody right now because Whiskey is still in training, but everybody is secured in a way that they can't get to the front where Brian is driving. If we had to stop, that nobody can run around and get out the door. But everybody, the 4 dogs that ride on the couch all have car harnesses that hook into the human seatbelt so that they're nice and secure. And then Whiskey's crate is secured down so that she's also safe.
Very cool.
As far as sleeping, as crazy as it sounds, with us.
Doesn't sound crazy. I was
Yeah.
waiting for that because I'm thinking either you guys are sleeping on the couch and they're on the bed, or you're all together.
It's funny. The older girls. So Lemoncello is 7 and Rita is 7 to 8, depending on when we what the vet said when we had found her. But the older girls get a little tired of all the boys in bed, so they'll go and sleep on the couch. They'll just say they've had enough and move on.
Awesome. So another question, great questions, you guys. So please pop them in. Do they all get along, or are there elements of sibling rivalry at any point in time?
We have seen over the year, or over the past couple of years, Hooch is an intact male, and Lager is a hyper dominant male. So we have seen, we've had tussles like anybody else, and if anybody's going to tell you their dogs are perfect, that's just like somebody telling you their kid is perfect. They're probably lying to you.
Right.
But we've worked through them just like anybody else. You find your solutions. You have to start with, separation, and then you work your way through it. But yeah, we've had issues. Luckily, we've been able to make our way through them, but we don't ever take it for granted because, as some good trainers say, like, I love my dogs and they're my kids, but they do sometimes get annoyed, and how they react to getting annoyed can sometimes be dangerous. So we make sure we always take that into account.
Okay.
The learning experience, having multiple dogs, especially the more you add to your pack, it constantly changes the dynamics, and we have to take everything as a learning experience and educate ourselves on how to handle the current situation and try to figure everything out. But we seem to manage everything pretty well so far.
Knock on wood. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple more questions for you too. One question being tips for people who are looking to purchase an RV. They have dogs. Are there any particular things they should be looking for?
The things I always say when you're looking to buy an RV is think about your lifestyle. Not only a lot of people go into that thing saying money, and money's a factor without a doubt. You have to, you obviously can only get something you afford. But when you look at it, you say, okay, what am I going to be doing? Is it I'm going to be out at events all day and I'm going to be sleeping in it? Or is this something we're going to be living in? So then you have to say, okay, does my dog require to be crated? So, really imagine like if you were planning buying an apartment, because really what an RV is a weekend apartment.
On wheels.
So, you have to look, okay, can I stay for the weekend? And, as long as you don't sacrifice safety and you don't do those things, then you go with what's best for you. But really the trick is when you're thinking about an RV, when you're looking at an RV, is to say, okay, like imagine you're living in it. Like if you had to live in it full time, where would the dog go? Where would the dog eat? Where would the dog sleep? And if you can work out those questions, then you probably got something. If you say, well, I don't know, we'd have to feed him outside. Well, that's not a feasible solution because it could be raining, it could be snowing, it could be any of those things. And if you work your way through the situation like you're living in it, is the best way to approach it.
Awesome.
We look at an RV, we actually go and sit inside and run through our day and go through every little step, what we do in the morning, what our day was going to be like, how we would, handle at night. And you can look around, and even though you might walk onto one and immediately fall in love with it, after you sit on it for a few minutes and you go through your day, you would find the things that work and don't work. And I don't think you're ever going to find something 100% that would work well, but you would find something that works the best for you.
Cool. Now, given that they're very active and in the sport that they're in, there's risk of injury or fatigue, those kinds of things. Someone's asking a great question on that. What do you guys do to help them recover or deal with any kind of physical ailment?
Well, recovery and injury are two different things. Recovery, really, that's just a matter of like any human athlete. You want to walk, you want to stretch, you want to do those things. You allow them to cool down. If it's cold outside, you make sure you keep the heat up. Just like a human athlete, they work the same. You could never expect, someone like a sprinter to sit in a crate all day and then all of a sudden go run a 100-yard dash. It's not feasible that they're going to perform at their best. So that's how you deal with the performance and the cool down. As far as injury goes, we have two things we do on every trip, which we would advise for anyone traveling with dogs. Is one, every campground we go to, we call ahead and ask for recommendations from the campground of the closest 24-hour emergency vet. You know, we're competing. We could deal with injuries, ACL tears, anything, slip disc in the back. And so could anybody, by the way. You don't have to be competing to deal with these injuries, as a lot of people who are watching know. But we always find the closest 24-hour emergency vet, and we put that contact in our phone. So in a moment of panic, we don't have to search for it, find it, do it. We hit the number and we go. The second thing is we carry a medical bag, which is pretty well stocked for most, and by pretty well, I mean like pharmacy stocked.
I'm laughing because I get made fun of for our medical bag.
But for ailments that maybe you would see that you could not necessarily treat at home, some of them you can, whether it be pain medicine or splints or bandages. But other things that, God forbid, you have a serious accident, that you're going to need to get them to that emergency vet we're talking about. You know, hiking is active, and you know, German short hair pointers are very common for bloat. And as you see, you know, bloat is a deadly disease, so you make sure that you have dimethicone, and simethicone, sorry, that we can, you know, calm their stomachs down so that we can get them to the hospital quick enough. And there's great books. You remember the name of the book? You got all that book?
I do not, but I can share that with you. We actually have a really good home remedy book that gives you a list of home items that humans can use that you can also use for dogs for certain ailments. So I went through the book and I bought everything in there, and we included in our bag, and it's been a lifesaver many a time.
We're always prepared for medical, you know, just as you would if you're traveling. I know I always say, because the dogs are our kids. And I always say, as just as if you're traveling with kids, you want to know where the doctor is, you want to know where the hospital is, so do we.
Yeah, no, that's such a great reminder for all of us watching about being prepared prior. That should be on your checklist of prior to departure, and ensuring that your RV is fully stocked with all those things that you just described for emergency, and also keeping up to date with your own ability to handle an emergency right in the moment if required. Do you have the name of the book that we could reference for our viewers?
I forget right now, but what we're going to do is, if there's a comment section, we'll then post that in the comment section of the book.
Yeah, please do, because regardless if you're RVing or not, if you're just going out for a day hike or anything, you want to at least be prepared for those things. But it is always a good idea to have in your phone the nearest emergency, access to your an emergency vet or someplace where you can get to right away if required.
We also recommend keeping a medical binder of all your dogs, like pertinent medical information on the camper. Mm-hmm. You know, whether it's the contact information for your vet, vaccinations, any recent, you know, updates.
Rabies certificate.
All the, like, a lot of campgrounds require them when you come in. Mm. But the other thing that's important, and I know this may sound morbid, but God forbid, because it's an unfamiliar area to your dog, we always keep a large updated picture of all of the dogs in the medical binder in case we need to make a poster if they're lost.
Right. And the obvious, being tagged and whatnot too.
Oh, of course, yeah, tags and collars. Yeah. They don't come off all weekend.
Yeah. So when you're traveling, are they okay in the RV, or do any of them have any kind of motion sickness?
No, luckily they do not. We do have something in the medical bag in the event that would happen. But all of ours really travel very well. We're lucky that way.
Awesome. That is fantastic. Okay, you guys, any other questions that you want to ask? You guys have been asking some phenomenal questions. Perfect for traveling. Well, while we're waiting for them to pop in questions, I always like to ask this. If you were to describe yourself as a particular dog breed, what would you be? Actually, I think you should say what the other person is. What kind of breed is Brian?
Oh boy, this is a hard one. I'm gonna pass on that.
Go on, you're good. I'm gonna go with Jen. Jen is like she's silky. She's you know, like tall and lean and fast and pretty hair.
Greyhound. All right. Love it.
You go with bulldog if you want.
You sure you're not going to say can pick one for Brian?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna pass on that one.
All right. So another question that just came up, which is a really good one, especially when you're doing sports and activities where there are lots of other dogs. And I'm going to add on to your question, Jennifer. The question is about tips on introducing dogs in a new environment when there's all these other dogs. That's part one. Part two to that, I want to know, how do you guys manage that activity when you have so many? You know, it's one thing when you have one dog or even two to manage their interactions with others, but now you've got 5. Are they all out with you at the same time, or are some left in the RV? How does that work out for you?
So out in the RV, they're all out with us. But when we go to these events, and every dog sport, I'm sure, has their own rules, but most of the events that we go to, especially dock diving, one of the major rules is that all dogs are on a leash no matter what. They're either in a crate or on the leash. So when we transfer them from the RV to the event, they're on a leash into a crate, so that even though there may be hundreds of dogs at the event, no 2 dogs have any kind of physical interaction whatsoever. There is actually an 8-foot rule that all dogs need to be 8 feet away so that there's no possible interaction. So we don't really have to worry about introducing the dogs at an event so much, really, right?
No. I would say when we go into a new environment, even a new campground, everything happens one at a time, because a lot of times they'll feed off each other. You know, Cello starts barking and then Hooch starts barking because Cello's Hooch's big sister and he wants to do exactly what she wants to do. And he's not sure why she's barking, but he's going to do it anyway. So, you know, we do all that one at a time. Not only that, we can then focus on their behaviors. And then once they become accustomed to the environment, then we start introducing more together at the same time. But we allow them to come individually desensitized to anywhere we go. And it's some work, but really, you know, by the time you get a walk done and a little bit of personal playtime, you really got it all out of the way there.
Great tips for sure. And it's good to know what the rules are in those kinds of environments, because that's really important. You definitely don't want to tussle when you're trying to stay in your zone of the activity itself.
Right.
That's fantastic. So I wanted to ask one last question to you guys, and that is to fill in the blank. Dog is my fill in the blank.
I'm going to go with happiness.
Aww.
I was going to say co-pilot, because we do, you know, we have a no dog left behind policy. We don't leave the house on a major event without everybody with us, as crazy as that sounds, which is why we have the RV. But, you know, they're our co-pilot, really. They're with us for everything we do.
Oh, gosh. Well, you guys are amazing. I love how much fun you all have, and you exude such an energy and joy for life and adventure in all the things that you do. And so I wish you just a lot more, tons of fun, lots of success in the dock diving, but just a life filled with just so much more joy as you also give back to the rescues that you work with. And I would imagine that in your prospective jobs that you, what you experience as a family ends up shining through to the others around you too. And that's kind of that, you know, pay it forward just by being who you are. So yep. I thank you so much for your time here. And I think you have a lot of friends on board watching you guys, and you two should be on commercials and whatnot. I would, if you're being come on out to California, we could have you in our catalog here at Dog is Good for a photo shoot.
I think that would be more Jen and the dogs, but I really appreciate it. You guys have been awesome. All the viewers, thank you very much. We love talking about these things. So thank you for coming out. We love sharing these stories, and anytime you'd like us to talk, we're available, and the girls are here.
Absolutely.
So,
thank you so much. Well, everybody watching, this is Brian and Jenny in New Jersey.
Thank you.
We're just popping in. Check the whole interview with them. I'm Gila Kurtz, founder and co-owner of Dog is Good. And if you have not already entered to win your free gift, Never RV Alone mug, please do that in the comments. If you are not part of our lifestyle group, please go to the Dog is Good lifestyle group and pop in there. RSVP, because we're having a huge party next week live, and you don't want to miss it, because there's going to be the best deals of the century, and it's 1 hour only. That's the only place you're going to find those. And if you want to embrace your life with dog in the same capacity that Jenny and Brian have, consider signing up to get a note of inspiration from your furry family member every single Monday. Fur Covered Wisdom, you can do that. We'll put a link in here too. And anyway, thank you guys so much. I bet I know it's evening where you are on the East Coast. Everybody else, have a great Wednesday. Make it an awesome week ahead and get out and have fun with your dog.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.